Hi everybody, Chris Titley here and welcome to Scoreboard. This episode is powered by SwiftX, Australia's top-rated crypto exchange and proudly homegrown, just like many of the athletes and business leaders we feature on Scoreboard. Hi, it's Chris Titley here, and on today's episode of Scoreboard, the podcast, I'm joined by Jack Riewoldt. Jack, thank you so much for being part of this series.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate being on.
Mate, we're live from your car, mate. Where are you heading today?
I'm just leaving Albert Park. I have been I go to the Chinese doctor and remedial sort of Chinese acupuncture sort of once every 2 or 3 weeks, just to try and keep some form of health in my body post footy. So I'm on my way home, and then my wife's away actually at the moment. She's walking the 3 Capes with a group of friends. We've got a mutual friend, and his wife's walking it as well with them. So they're down. I think they're at top of Mount Fortescue. Was the last correspondence I had from them. So they haven't got far to go till they walk down into Fortescue Bay and finish up their 3-day walk, and then they've got a couple of days in Hobart. But so after this, I am going for a run and then looking after 3 children at home, which will be good fun. Looking forward to it.
Mate, this is like a complete mirror of my life. My wife did the same thing, the 3 Capes, did some times in Hobart about a year ago, but she had pneumonia the week before, so she struggled a little bit, but she got through, and there was a glass of champagne at the end, and they went to the art gallery and all sorts of things in Tassie. So, mate...
It's a very important place to me. We actually, like, one of my businesses I have with my wife is called Authentic Leaders, and we take corporate people and clubs to 3 Capes and use it as a remarkable classroom for the leadership stuff that we do and culture pieces that we work with businesses. So I've done it probably 6 or 7 times. This is Carly's first time, so she's very excited, and I'm extremely proud of her and the group of girls that they're going to come through with flying colours, it sounds like.
And, mate, the 3 kids at home, are they getting some good daddy daycare this weekend? Hey, getting some Chinese takeaway?
No, they had. I do a bit of cooking at home, so I'm not too bad on that front. But the kids are going great. They miss their mum a lot, obviously, but they're looking forward to Saturday when she rolls back in. And we have been having a lot of fun. It's funny how when there's one less adult in the house, they gravitate, I think, a little bit more to each other. So our eldest 2 are 6 and 4, soon to be 5. 2 girls. They have spent a lot of time together, and then our youngest is a 2-year-old boy, and he just wants to kick the footy 24/7 and hassle his sisters. So they've grown closer, I think, a little bit over the last couple of days when they've had one less parent to one parent them, but probably also tell them off as they mischievously make their way around our house.
Mate, 17 years as an AFL player, but 6 years as a parent. What's harder?
No, like, I don't know whether hard is the right word. But yeah, footy, you can switch off from footy. You can't switch off from being a parent. Even when you're not in the vicinity of your children, there's something that obviously you're constantly thinking about them. So parenting trumps football in all aspects.
No, 100%, mate. I got told some good advice recently. I've got 3 there, 12, 10 and 8, but some advice is if you're in a good headspace, you're in a good mood, you become a much better parent. But if you're not, or you're tired, or you're a little bit grumpy, or a little bit hangry, that reflects to the kids, and then there's that elevated volume that happens in the house.
Yeah, it's funny. I've sort of adjusting to, I say, normal life or life outside of footy has been quite an interesting ride for myself. Because I'm fairly well set up in terms of stuff that I have going for me off the field and or post football. But the competitiveness is one thing I've lost a little bit, so I'm constantly on the search for that and what that releases in your body when you're in that full competition mode. So I've recently just started doing some more mindfulness and particularly breathing, and finished a 10-day challenge with our oldest a couple of nights ago, just trying to create good habits or trying to create good system and method in your life to make sure that you stay pretty stable with your emotional control and I mean, little kids have big emotions, and big kids have big emotions as well. And I'm a big kid. So it's just finding ways to put new tools in the toolkit, or tools that I probably haven't used for a couple of years now because I haven't been playing footy in a sort of high octane environment.
Couple of things on that. The breathing methodology. Do you do the box breathing? Do you kind of hold it in, or do you do a big long deep breath?
No, I just try and do a few little things. Box breathing is obviously a good one, but one of our facilitators at Authentic Leaders is a girl called Megan Waters, and she's around the sort of similar age to me, but she's been fantastic. It's like when I was sort of thinking about, it, I'm actually going to give this a crack, and just text Megs in. She has a really cool podcast too around breathing, called Rushing Slowly, and yeah, she put me onto an app, and it's called Inside Timer actually, for anyone who's listening that wants to delve into the world of that. And it's been great. There's stuff in there for a whole range of different things. Like one thing I really love is manifesting. And like I probably manifested before I even knew what the word manifesting was. I remember I had a conversation with a performance coach, a mindset performance coach, a lady called Emma Murray, who who spoke to me and just said, like, there's this. I just had an innate ability to make stuff happen, and believing in that as well, made things happen more. And I didn't even know what manifesting was at that point. So I always believe it will be right, no matter what I get myself into. Um, and things will work out. And for the back part of my career, that's sort of probably what I told myself more than anything else, is that you're here now and you'll be okay.
Have you always been a sort of a natural optimist in life?
I think I always see the best in things. Certainly the best in people, and sometimes that gets me into a bit of trouble because I look at things a glass half full, and I might miss some red flags or miss cues. But I go into most of the things in my life, or certainly probably all of the things in my life, trying to have a successful outcome out of them.
Are you a goal setter?
Not really. Nah, no. I never really set goals too much. I think internally, like there's stuff that you want to tick off. Um, I like one of my favorite sayings. And I don't know how PG this podcast is, so you might be able to bleep one of the words out of here. Is I like to chew, to bite off more than you can chew and chew like fuck. And I think
Mm.
that's something that I've sort of just like, well, if I'm in it, I'm working and I'm going as hard as I possibly can, and doing whatever I can to make that happen. And I mean, everything that I sort of attach myself to now is one, to make me a better person, um, and make my family's life easier as well, make people around me happy. I'm really into activating things, and seeing groups come together and have a good time, but also grow.
Mm. You talked about mindfulness before in regards to that. Is it something which you pay a bit more attention to now? Like you smell the wine, the coffee, you're grateful for you sort of express it a bit more. Is that something that you do in your mindfulness, or is it a bit more deeper than that, like meditation, etc.?
I think it's a little bit of everything, of just appreciating obviously what you have. But I would say it's probably just I'm going to use the word woo woo. But I like that. I think it's different. I think I really enjoy being curious about different ways of doing things. Like um, post my career, I've done stuff like astrology classes, different types of healing, different ways of thinking of things. There's such a big world out there that um, I like exploring, and I think my wife has opened my eyes up to that a lot more as well. Just being really curious. I probably reckon COVID taught people a little bit about just asking questions and being really curious about themselves, especially health, and mental health. So um, yeah, I like trying different things, and seeing if they are the right thing for me and exploring what I need to do as I grow up, I suppose, and get a little bit older and open my eyes up a little bit more because the footy world can be a bit consuming sometimes with that sort of stuff. And you're under a microscope constantly, and you're in a club that has a certain set of, well, I suppose, particularly regulations and whatnot, and profile and all a whole range of different things that everyone sort of marches to the same drum. And um, yeah, the world I think is growing at a fast rate, and people are starting to explore themselves differently.
No, absolutely. I'm curious to know around your relationship with footy over the course of like in terms of from when you first started out and the passion, the drive to where you are now, still heavily involved, but has that relationship changed over time?
Yeah, it's funny. Like, sort of got to the end of my career, and maybe I could have played one more year, or maybe I couldn't have. We'll never know. But um, people ask you like, when do you know that you want to retire? And I mean, I was one of the very fortunate ones. Like as you mentioned off the top, I played 17 years of footy. I was very, very lucky to have done that at one club, which I'm extremely proud of. Um, but in the end, I got to the end of my career and I just love stuff more than I loved footy. Now, that's not to say that I don't love footy and don't still love footy. I have a different appreciation and love for footy now. Is that um, I work in a commentary role and do some stuff for the ground up for Tassie as well, which is coming through, and still an extremely passionate Richmond person. Um, but I just love other stuff more than I love footy. Like I wanted to spend more time with my kids. I wanted to go and explore the wide world. I wanted to get more involved in my business. Um, I wanted to start a new business, and those opportunities have arisen since I've retired. So yeah, there's plenty more that fill my cup up than just footy now these days.
But when it comes to identity, someone recognises you at a cafe or they know your footy, they're footy. Does that wear you down a little bit, or is it in terms of your identity, is it shifting a little bit?
Nah, not really. It doesn't wear me down. It's all part of the job, and I think that's something that a lot of players have probably got to come to realise is that you paid a lot of money. I moved from Hobart when I was 17. I got on the boat. I worked at Sportsco for a year and a half in a shoe shop, earning like $16 an hour or something, $15 an hour. And then I think my first year at Richmond, I might have earned maybe $180,000 as a 17-year-old. I had no idea what tax was. I was as green as they come. And I mean, that's a lot of money for an 18-year-old kid to earn. I was pretty fortunate. I went in with a host family when I came over here, and the dad was a partner at EY, Ernst and Young, and he helped set me and Carly up and give us our foundation for obviously the life that we now live today, and gave us great advice and helped us out tremendously. So yeah, and that my point there is that you're paid well, but you're not just paid to go and play footy as much as you would. Some athletes would like to think that's what they are. There's a whole package with it, and a part of the social part of it, and the every day of the street is a part of that, and that doesn't just get turned off as soon as you retire. It's still there, and once you have children as well, there's a greater realization that that I was some kid's hero. It sounds weird saying it, but my kids have got their heroes outside of obviously myself and Carly, is that they've got people they love, whether they be cartoon characters or other sports people or people in the public eye or other family members, is that it's a very important piece to remember that you could be someone's hero and have no idea about it. So to treat them well, and they may only ever get one chance to meet their hero.
Mate, the autographs were probably pretty prominent back in '06. Not so much the selfies. How do you deal with the changing landscape of fame?
You just got to smile. You don't want to be the person that's had a photo and had a frown and hey, I've done it. But then I look back on that and you get a bit embarrassed about the fact that why was I frowning in that photo? Why was I being shitty? It's half a second of a part of your day that may make someone else's day or may make someone else's week or whatever. So um, it's okay to smile.
Mate, you talked about leadership and your involvement in a leadership group. Have you always been curious about leadership, and when did that sort of come about on the footy field?
Yeah, funnily enough, I think I've always been a bit of a natural leader because I've always been quite a loud person and I say opinionated, which I think's like come from a level of confidence and a level of ego. Um, but I battled with it early, no, sort of mid years at Richmond, where I was in the leadership group and I was probably in it because I was a good player. And I had a really good footy brain and because I was able to talk, I could sort of talk my way through things. Then I came out of it and had a really bad relationship with leadership. And then I found my way back in 2017. I think probably one of the most important things that ever happened to me. And this is what happens. I've been so fortunate that I've known my wife now for 20 years. Is that she's got a master's in organisational leadership. So she sees corporate, but she also saw footy through the lens of me. And it came to this point where she had a friend who was very well versed in a program tool called CliftonStrengths. It's by a Gallup organisation, and it looks at human beings um, under the lens of what they can do rather than what they can't do. So through a real strengths-based lens. And I did this at the end of 2016. I was outside of the leadership group. Like Richmond was going pretty crap at the time. We'd played finals in 13, 14, 15, and then had a bad year in 2016, and I felt some responsibility for that. But then I went and did this Clifton Strengths Finder, and it gave me a new perspective on myself and how I viewed myself, and it was coached very well by a lady named Sarah, and I've done it again with a friend of ours called Daniel, who actually does some stuff for Authentic as well, and the tool looks at these themes, and you get coached on how they help you be the best version of yourself and how those themes can actually help in areas that maybe you might see as a weakness or an area that you'd like to improve so you can lean on that just a little bit more. So to give you an example, I've already mentioned activator. That's one of my top 5 themes. And that's why I like starting things. I'm a really good starter of stuff. And I get enjoyment out of seeing people come together. My favorite top 5 theme is a thing called woo. I've already said woo in the podcast, but this is different. It stands for winning others over. So I think it's a great leadership trait. It's also one that can be very dangerous as well. That if you have the ability to win others over, you can get them to see your side of any point or any argument well, but then it can be quite manipulative as too. So, like I learned that in 2016, and one, it changed my perspective on me. It made me more aware of also that sort of loud, controlling conversation that I did have sometimes in team meetings to be a bit more, a bit smarter about when I made comment and how I made comment. But it made me look at myself a whole lot differently. But it also made me look at my teammates and others differently as well, and really focusing on what they can do rather than what they can't do. And that was a real shift at Richmond in 2017. And it's funny how that stuff like that spreads like wildfire. And AFL organisations they work on this thinly knife's edge where things are going well, everyone will fall in line. But if things go bad, they can fall out of line pretty quickly too. And we just all happen to fall in the line and stay in line for a long period of time.
I'm curious around, firstly, feedback and as you were growing up, how did you go with feedback? And then has that changed over time? Have you always sort of had the same approach to feedback?
Um, I think it's always adjusting feedback, and it needs to adjust as well, especially in team sport. Like there's direct feedback where, I mean, if you're in the arena, there's stuff that you need to get across pretty quickly, and that sometimes comes without the sensitivity of the tone of conversation, and it might not even come from the right person. But but follow up is the thing that is critical with feedback. I reckon that once you give feedback, and feedback is has such negative connotations, or it does for me. Like, it sort of triggers something in me that I've got to constantly remind myself that feedback is positive and negative. So I'll give you an example that happened to me in the last week or so. As I mentioned, we've got a couple of little business interests. We've got a freight business in Hobart, in Tasmania, and we've just ordered on. We've got a guy who's our general manager down there, a guy called Mark Clark, and he's an unreal operator. Knows the business back to front, and we're very lucky to have him. And we have a client over here in Melbourne who has just assigned us a really tricky part of their work that they want done. And Mark's been phenomenal. And I actually asked the business for some feedback on Mark, and they were glowing of him. Now that's the important feedback that you need to give to people to reinstill behaviours that they're doing. Going, hey, you're doing a bloody great job, mate. And these people here are absolutely loving it. And that feedback there, well, you hope if you receive something like that, makes you walk a little bit taller, but also places value in the job that you're doing. The other type of feedback is obviously critiquing. And I say critique rather than being critical, because I think it's really important that you're critiquing what's happened rather than being, well, you did this bad. So, well, critique, this is what I would have liked to have happened. Here's how we can do it better next time. So actually coming with that follow-up conversation. So there's a whole range of different things. You just got to be smart. You got to know the environment you're in. If you're in a team, figure out the best person to deliver the best feedback, to deliver the feedback in the best way for whoever you want to deliver the feedback to. Use your resources. Always disarm the conversation and follow up and support. That's what great leaders do.
You mentioned the word team there before. AFL is a very skillful game at an individual level, but then there was also the role within the team. How did you go those early years in Richmond in regards to knowing your role and knowing other people's roles within the team? And then obviously something happened, you mentioned around 16 into 17, that maybe everyone started to know their role a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that happened at Richmond was we had like the AFL is such a copycat industry that you see the best and you go, well, let's copy the best. But as much as the demographic is young males from 18 to 35, is that you still have a whole range of different strengths and resources in each group. So a game plan that works for Team A is not going to particularly work for Team B. Yes, it might be a great game plan, but do you have the cattle to actually do that? And I reckon what we did, and it's absolute, it's a masterstroke by our senior coach, Damien Harwick, who at the time in start of 2017 had his back against the wall. Like his job was on the line. We'd lost the first 5 or 6 in 2000, or been lowly in the start of 2017. I doubt he would have seen the year out. But he went back and said, what have we got? And we were a really quick side, so he developed a game plan alongside the players and the assistant coaches. So this theory of ownership of the direction and the buy-in that you get once you open the door to people collaborating with you, developed a masterstroke of a game plan that suited what we had and the cattle that we had, and we changed the game forever. And then what happens in a copycat industry is that people saw us do that, and then they wanted to play like us, and it actually did suit a couple of sides, and certain areas of our game plan suited certain teams. But I think our group is extremely proud of the fact that we reinvented the game a little bit off the back of 2017, when we were in a really tricky position with our backs against the wall after a whole range of shit didn't go right for us, and we fought our way out, and we were successful in 2017, and I mean, still to this day, I'm extremely proud that I was part of that group that did that.
every year September comes around, do you still feel it? Do you feel it more now? And as you get older, the proudness gets higher?
Oh, you do. Like September's fantastic in Melbourne, and around the country, obviously with the national game. But grand final weeks here is brilliant. There's so much stuff that happens, and I mean the naturally it's a bit like your birthday. I think the text messages between the groups were, or the WhatsApps between the groups all start to fire back up again, and you reminisce and old footage is played on TV, and the anticipation that someone else will join that, some other team will join that group of winners. But yeah, it brings back great memories. And then to go to, I mean, I've been to the last few grand finals, and it's one of the great spectacles of all time. And sometimes you get a little bit jealous that you're not back out there, but that's the reality of professional sport, is that it comes to an end for you, everyone, really. Yeah.
Mate, and you're involved in a club that hasn't got off the ground yet, but is progressing very, very fast. How do you go about building a club from scratch? Your input of what you've learned at Richmond, and the goals, I suppose, and the vision for the Tassie Devils.
It's a really great question. So one of my first tasks, sort of 2 years ago, was smack bang nearly 2 years ago, was to discover the fabric, we were calling it. It's the DNA of the state. And I think it's been a really interesting build for Tasmania. It's been one where we've built it from the bottom up, because what's the point of difference, or what's the actual keystone to building a club from scratch? Very different to the Gold Coast Suns and the GWS Giants, the most recent teams that have come into the AFL, is that they didn't have the history that Tasmania has. Nor probably the passion originally for the game too, considering Tasmania is a heartland football state. So the first thing we actually did was we went and travelled around and just showed our faces as the small little group we were. Like there was probably 8 people on the board and 4 or 5 staff maybe. So we travelled around Tasmania and did sort of roadshow events / sort of sportsman's nights, but sort of flipped them on their head a little bit and asked people to give us their great DNA Tasmanian stories. And that was great fun. And I think even the fact that we started on the west coast of Tassie in a place called Queenstown, which is a gravel football ground, probably the hardest place to get to in Tasmania. On the mainland of Tasmania, there's a few islands that are a little bit difficult to get out to, but so we went and started in the hardest spot, and I think that even symbolises that it's been a very hard road for Tasmania to get where it's got to, and there's a beautifulness about starting in the most difficult place, because that's where the gold probably lies in these sort of culture builds. Now the team is starting to build out now, obviously with the workforce, and the players have started to come for the VFL and the VFLW, so we sort of know what it's going to look like on field. But the focus on that off-field stuff and the DNA has been one of the most important things. And from there, we came up with 6 pillars of what it means to be a Tasmanian. And they're all built around storytelling. They're all very Tasmanianisms. And they are really the fabric of what we hope is going to be a very successful club. And obviously a successful team. I think the club bit is very important. That it represents the state on a national stage and potentially international stage in a very good light, and paints the picture of what it means to be a Tasmanian and what it will mean for people to come from the mainland and actually play for Tasmania too.
You've got a little bit of a blueprint in the Jack Jumpers there on what they've done and how they've built their club. Do you speak to them? Do you talk to other codes, including obviously the Hobart Hurricanes as well, and the T20 success there as well?
Yeah, I love chatting to Christine Finnegan. She's one of my most favourite people in the world. She's the CEO of the JJs. And I think Scott Roth symbolises what it means to come from outside Tasmania but be indoctrinated into being a Tasmanian by hard work, boots on the ground style of just travelling. So, I mean, we would have been very silly not to look at the Jack Jumpers and see how they've done it. They've been so successful. Obviously, they've won a title, but they've been so successful at capturing the hearts of Tasmanians and representing them well on a national stage. So, um, I mean, that relationship between the JJs and the Hurricanes you mentioned, and netball in Tasmania, has actually started a business called TALS, which is the Tasmanian Tasmanian Academy of Leadership in Sport, which is a great opportunity for young Tasmanians to become upskilled in areas in professional sport, and whilst also getting qualifications in there too. So those businesses have all come together, and I mean, we don't really compete against each other because we all represent the same place, and we run at different times of the year as well. So I'm sure it has happened already, but I'm sure that there will be plenty of love going back towards those other codes that have certainly helped pave the way, and been great friends of the brand, and friends of the Devils. And we celebrate their success as much as we celebrate our own success, and we'll celebrate our own success too going forward.
Mate, the importance of storytelling is very high in this social media world. Probably wasn't as prominent in 2006, 6, 7 when you started, but some breaking news is that the Tasmanian Devils have got the GWS social media manager. Did you see that?
Jacob's come across, which is cool. Yeah.
Some of their content's just been outstanding. As a Brisbane Lions fan, I follow the GWS socials because it's so fun.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I mean, it shows. Like he's very good at his craft. Probably the best person in the AFL at what he does. But I mean, he's got some ties back to Tassie, and I mean, there's Tasmanians littered across the AFL and AFLW that are
Chris
seeking to
Fagan
come
was
home.
obviously as well. Yep.
Chris Fagan is from Queenstown actually, and so I mean that just shows that the roles that are being made and are coming up are highly sought after, and I mean we're so excited just to get playing, and that'll be at a VFL level next year, and our men and women get to represent their state, or their new state, for some people that are coming down that aren't born in Tasmania. And that'd be so good. We won't be talking about stadiums, or we won't be talking about high performance centres. We'll be talking about the footy.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that moment. Speaking of moments, I always ask my guests about their scoreboard moment, which is a moment in their life, which is like a sliding doors and or Kodak moment where it's very visual and they can recall it instantly. But from that moment, life changed.
It's funny. I was going to go with the Strengths Finder because it did really change my life. But I think I'll go a bit further back. And my man was a very good footy player and played 297 games for the Clarence Footy Club out of Bellerive. And I was lucky enough to play in a senior premiership the year before, or probably 4 or 5 weeks before I got drafted to Richmond. So Dad's in the Hall of Fame of Tassie. He got drafted to St Kilda when he was 19 and never came over because he wanted to finish his uni degrees in Hobart, or in Launceston, sorry, it was at that point. But I remember sitting at our old wooden kitchen bench, and I think I'd come home from training. I might have been 15 or 16, and my old man said to me, I think you might be better than me. And it was a really, really weird moment. I hope I have that moment with Tommy at some stage, or Poppy or Hazel as well. That like I idolised my dad growing up. I remember travelling around the state when he played footy and also when he coached, and then to have that moment where he goes, I think you might be better than me. And I was like, far out, that was pretty cool. And he's right, because I was better than him. but yeah, it was a cool moment between a father and a son. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. And talking about instilling confidence and belief, like those just simple words, right?
Yeah, both my parents are PE teachers, so I think there's a level of belief that comes with team sport, and they both played team sport. So that's a really good I think it's a really good example of just how like environment can create confidence and create belief, and especially as a parent as well. Like what you are telling the story of the world to your child, and guiding them, and I mean, nothing ever goes to plan, but that's what story you tell them.
100%. Speaking of stories and moments, I always ask our guests about their favourite all-time sporting moment, and I preface this that it doesn't include yourself. I'm curious to know, Jack, what's your favourite all-time sporting moment that you can watch 1,000 times?
So when I grew up, so I only started playing footy when I was 13, and I've got two younger brothers, and we loved soccer. Like, you speak about heroes. Les Murray on a Monday night on SBS at 7:30 was an absolute hero to us because we'd have the EPL highlights for an hour. We were huge Leeds supporters growing up, and Leeds had such a great tradition of Australians. You think Harry Kewell, Mark Viduka, Mark Schwarzer played at Leeds as well. So we loved soccer. And I think the moment that I'll never forget is when Australia made it back to the World Cup. And Tim Cahill was at his peak of his powers, Lucas Neal, like just those, sitting up with my two younger brothers, like getting the cutout from the Mercury, playing, like learning all the capital cities of the countries that were in the World Cup that year from the cutout, and just being fully immersed in the World Cup. Like I remember the Nike ads about Yogo Bonito and the history of football, sitting up heckling the Socceroos and all that sort of stuff. Is just, I think it's one of Australia's great sporting moments, and certainly for an avid soccer fan growing up, it was one that I'll never forget.
Mate, etched into my memory is being at a pub and watching John Aloisi kick that goal, run half the field with his shirt off.
Yeah, and 4 years before that, we'd been absolutely jibbed by it was, I'm just trying to think, Uruguay, when they slow played us in the game away, and we got snuffed out. But no, it was awesome. I think it's amazing how some of those great Australian sporting moments bring people together. And I suppose, like, you might ask this of a Richmond supporter, is that 2017 probably did that for a lot of Richmond supporters as well, who had suffered a lot of premiership drought.
No, for sure, and Brisbane supporters recently as well. Just on that World Cup, do you remember that game against Croatia, the 2-2 draw that got us through with, I think there was 2 red cards, there was like missed goals, hit posts. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah, I remember everything. I used to love Tim Cahill running to the corner flag and his celebrations, and I mean it was it's funny how those little moments get etched in your mind.
Absolutely. I reckon Croatia got an early one too, and it was like, I think it might have been the second minute, or it might have been a goalkeeper blunder. I can't remember. But anyway. Now, obviously, sponsors are very important to the Tasmanian Devils, but sponsors are also very important to Scoreboard here. And we've got a couple of sponsors, but our first sponsor is SwiftX, which is Australia's most trusted cryptocurrency exchange with 1.2 million users in Australia and New Zealand. As part of their sponsorship, we do a little segment called The Bucket List, which is powered by SwiftX as part of their campaign, Where Can Crypto Take You? Jack Riewoldt, I'm curious to know what your bucket list sporting event is live that you'd love to attend that you haven't attended thus far.
Yeah, like if you'd probably asked me 10 years ago, I would have said the Masters. But there's some, like, there's weird ones. Like I would love to go I would love to do the Tour de France. I like bike riding. And I'm friends with Richie Port and love riding with him when I'm home, and I've been lucky enough to. I actually rode from one end of Tassie to the other end with Richie in a day, 300 k's, and he dragged my sorry ass along for 300 k's. But like there's this thing called the Berkeley's Marathon in either North or South Carolina. Can't remember. There's a great doco on YouTube about it, and it's this quirky marathon that there's a 20-mile course, and everyone runs. There's only sort of 60 or 70 competitors, and everyone runs it one way. And they get to this paddle gate, then they fuel up, and they all run it back the other way, and then they do that 4 times. And then when you come in, the first person back for their 5th lap, and mind you, this takes nearly a day and a half. For their 5th lap, the first person back gets to decide which way they're going to run. And then from there, you've got to alternate. The next person has to run the opposite way. But it's quirky because the guy that set it up as this sort of fun event, ultra marathon running, but he doesn't charge a lot of money to get in. It might be $30 or $40 US. But it'll be a quirky item. Like it'll be short of a t-shirts. So he'll charge everyone $40 and a white t-shirt to enter. So I just think, and I don't even know whether I'd want to go and compete in it, but I'd love to go and just see people just like put themselves like in the locker. Like, I just think that stuff's cool. I'd love to do a marathon. I just watched the Melbourne Marathon over here, and I just had the bug for it. I was like, this is awesome. Like 5,000 people running together, just pavement, just hitting the pavement. Like, it's so cool, that sort of stuff. So there's a couple.
Mate, you mentioned cycling there. You mentioned running there. If you add in swimming, that'd be a triathlon. A little birdie has told me that you've competed in some triathlons as a cyclist.
I haven't competed in triathlon. I'm doing it. Well, I might when this comes out, but I'm doing it. Doing the Noosa Tri. I'm doing the
maybe the future triathlon. A little birdie told me. Maybe my mail's wrong from Vaughan. Yeah.
I did a Weet-Bix Tri at 7 Mile Beach when I might have been 6 or 7. But
right.
No, I'm doing the Noosa Tri with a couple of mates and a friend of ours. So that's going to be good fun. I think we're going for the social things rather than the race. And 3 families are going to live under one roof and just run amok for 4 days, and it's going to be great fun.
And you're doing the cycling league, I believe.
Correct, yeah. Correct. I'm just about to go for a run with the guy that's doing the running league as well. So cross-training.
Mate, and the Tour de France, would you be doing it with a couple of vinos in hand as well, you reckon?
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm very passionate about Tasmanian wine. But I think I'd like to do it and actually ride a few of the stages and take the family along. And like, you can't follow the whole thing. But that European experience for my children. My parents took me to Europe when I was like 9, and we backpacked, I think. We had a combi van or something. I remember a lot of things like that. So creating those core memories when my kids are old enough to get on a plane and go over the other side of the world, yeah, that's a pretty cool thing.
Mate, speaking of Tasmanian wines, apparently I have to say a code word in this podcast. It's called toll puddle.
Yeah. Well, I've spoken about the girls that are down in Tassie at the moment, is that they are going to toll puddle tomorrow, which did win White Wine of the Year, Halliday Wines, I think, only a few weeks ago. So everything that comes out of Tasmania is premium quality.
And Jack, we've also got a sponsor in Pocket Smith for the Do You Budget section. Pocket Smith is the personal finance app for the household CFO, the one keeping the budget in check, paying the bills and kicking big goals. Over 80,000 Aussies use Pocket Smith to track their spending, see their net worth and plan ahead. As part of their sponsorship, we do a little section. Jack, do you budget? Are you the CFO of the household?
No, it's a very collaborative approach. But yeah, no, we're pretty good with us. Like as I said, like we've bought our first house and we're pretty young. And I think we've done a lot of hard yards renovating. So we've probably renovated 6 houses, myself and Carly, and learned a lot about each other and learned a lot about renovating over those times. And I think everyone's sort of looking to try and earn a few bucks here and there. So we're always very open and interested in things that crop up in the world and opportunities. Yeah.
There you go. Check out Pocket Smith, the all-in-one budgeting app that I use, and categorizations, etc. Too many coffees, maybe. Too many subscriptions, maybe not. One final question, Jack. You talked about that moment with your dad when you were 15 or 16. Some advice now to a 15 or 16-year-old that potentially wants to play as a professional athlete.
Look, I got some great advice from a guy called Grant Thomas, who was coaching the Saints at the time. And he told me to be as good a kick on my left foot as I was on my right foot. And so I walked to school every day with a footy, and every 3 steps I'd take a kick on my left foot to make me as good a kick on my left foot as I was on my right foot. And I think that boded well. But yes, it gave me great skill acquisition, but also gave me instilled behaviours about training and determination and being better and taking every step is a really important one. And yeah, that was probably some advice that I got that I think still relevant to this day, that train the way you want to play. So for anyone out there that is aspiring to be an AFL player, yeah, do that.
Did you have fun?
I loved having fun. I was yeah, footy was a very fun job. And one that I was very lucky to do for a long period of time. Some bits weren't fun, but some bits were. I hated running, which sounds moronic now.
Now you're about to go
out for a run. But I've started liking running now, because you're allowed to stop whenever you want when there's no one watching. Yeah, so but the whole ball and gamut of footy rolled into one was an extraordinary experience, and one that had so many life-changing moments for me and my family, and for people that I might never meet that were Richmond supporters or whatnot. And I'm very grateful that I got to live that journey.
Jack Riewoldt, thank you so much for being on Scoreboard, the podcast today, to share your journey, the ups and downs, and also the priorities in family now and moving forward with. I wish you all the best with your businesses. I wish you all the best with the upcoming Noosa Try and the cycling leg. And also your business out in Tassie, which we'll give a plug for.
Awesome,
really appreciate having the chat, and look forward to catching up and supporting where I can.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks very much.